There is a moment, precisely, when everything changes. A gesture, a look, and your life takes a turn from which you can no longer go back. I thought I had everything under control, a wife, a house, a routine. But there was something moving beneath the surface, something just waiting to explode. And when it happened, I wasn't ready. And yet, I did nothing to stop it. Sign up if you want to find out how dangerous desire can become. My name is Simone. I am 37 years old, and for 10 years I have shared my life with Michaela, the woman I married believing would be my companion until the end of my days. For years I lived in the belief that ours was a solid, stable relationship, protected by that deep bond that only time can cement. And in part it was, but the truth, the most uncomfortable one, was hidden behind silent habits. The passion that once united us had slowly dissolved like fog in the sun. Kisses had become rare, devoid of that hunger we had at the beginning. Intimacy had become an almost mechanical gesture, an empty ritual. I had never considered myself unfaithful, yet inside me, something burned, a restless part, never completely satisfied, that yearned for a different fire. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't want it. But when it came, I recognized it immediately. It all started when Michaela's mother, Elda, came to stay with us for a few weeks. She was 58, but time seemed to have only enriched her. Her every gesture was charged with an elegant, disarming femininity. The way she moved, the way she looked, the way she smiled. There was something about her that captivated me more than I would have liked to admit. At first they were just glances, barely hinted at, fleeting. Then they turned into unconscious waits, small moments shared in the kitchen or in the living room, when Michaela wasn't there. It didn't take much to create that suspended tension, a hand that brushed the counter, a silence full of implications. I felt that something was being born, even if none of us dared to name it. But the body always knows before the mind. One evening, everything changed. Michaela had gone out with some friends, and Elda and I were alone. A simple dinner, a few glasses of wine, and then the living room, the soft light, the closeness. Her words became more intimate, the tone lower, as if every syllable were an invitation. Her gaze was different, deep, inquiring. I sought refuge in the shower, hoping that the cold water would wash away the thoughts that were now devouring me. But it was useless. Through the steam I saw her figure enter, a thin robe that revealed curves that were still alive, still desirable. My heart raced, my skin tightened. No words, only the sound of the door closing behind her. She looked at me as if she knew exactly what was about to happen. And in that moment, I lost all my defenses. The steam was nothing compared to the heat she was giving off. The fingers brushing against the skin, the bodies urgently seeking each other, as if all the pent-up desire was concentrated in that precise moment. It was wrong. We both knew it. But it was also inevitable. Every caress was a blow to the heart, every kiss a betrayal carved into the flesh. There was no room for reason, only instinct, only shivers. When it was over, we remained silent. The water continued to flow, as if it wanted to wash away the guilt. But it couldn't. She stepped out of the shower without saying anything, leaving me naked and vulnerable, immersed in a shame I couldn't shake. In the days that followed, every time Michaela hugged me, I felt my skin burn. Her trust became a blade. And yet, a part of me wanted to go back there, in that shower, in those hands. I told myself it was a mistake, a moment of madness. But I was lying to myself. 2 weeks passed. Michaela left for a business trip, and Elda and I were alone once again. This time, no implicit invitation was needed. There were no hesitations. It was as if our bodies had already decided everything before our minds. Again the bath. Again that sick complicity that consumed us. Each encounter was more intense, more carnal, more dangerous. With every forbidden caress, I sank deeper and deeper. Yet I couldn't stop. Every time I swore it would be the last, I ended up looking for her again. My guilt grew, as did my desire. I was a man split in two. On one side, the devoted husband. On the other, a lover prisoner of a passion without rules. We were playing with fire, and we did it consciously. Then came that day, the one I will never forget. It seemed like a day like any other. Elda and I were alone in the house, and as was happening more and more often, we had given in to desire once again. We were in the bathroom, still enveloped in the steam and carnal trail of yet another stolen moment. Our hands still damp, our breathing accelerated, our skin still alive from that forbidden contact. But this time, something went wrong. The sudden sound of the front door opening broke the silence like a bolt from the blue. My heart leapt into my throat. It was Michaela, back earlier than expected. The serene voice with which she called me from the entrance was like a sharp blade. She didn't know, not yet, but just one step in the wrong direction and everything would come to light. I froze, paralyzed. Our clothes were scattered on the floor. The shower was still on. The smell of us in the air was tangible, indelible. I turned to Elda. Her eyes, for the first time, were not those of the confident seductress. They were full of fear, a lucid, aware, sharp fear. No words were needed. That look was enough. With a coldness I didn't think she possessed, Elda grabbed her robe and quickly covered herself. Then she gave me one last look, one of those that speak more than 1,000 sentences, and left the bathroom as if nothing had happened. I was left alone, naked, vulnerable, mired in shame. I looked at myself in the fogged mirror, my face distorted, my breathing irregular. The sense of guilt closed my throat like a tight knot, and the terror that Michaela would find out everything paralyzed me. From downstairs I could hear their voices, muffled, incomprehensible. Yet every word I didn't understand was a hammer blow to my head. I imagined tragic scenarios, Michaela connecting everything, the tears, the anger, the breakup. Part of me wanted to escape. The other wanted to face the disaster, but the fear was too strong. Then I heard his footsteps coming up the stairs. My heart was beating so hard I was afraid he could hear it. I quickly got dressed, trying to erase all traces of what had happened. As I left the bathroom, I tried to look normal, as if nothing had happened. But inside, I was devastated. Michaela looked at me sweetly. Her face was serene, unaware. She told me that she had met her mother downstairs, that she was about to go to sleep. That sentence was a temporary relief, but the ice I felt inside did not melt. If something in you has moved by hearing this story, then stay. Press sign up and let yourself be tempted again, one story at a time. She hugged me, and in that moment, shame overwhelmed me. Her arms were warm, genuine, and mine, unfaithful, held her only to mask a betrayal that was falling upon her, without her knowing it. In the days that followed, everything seemed to have returned to normal. Elda behaved with glacial elegance, as if nothing had happened. Michaela was loving as ever. But I was on edge. Every gesture, every word, every noise made me jump. Every time we were alone at home again, Elda and I, the tension rose. The desire was there, always ready to take back its space. And with it, the sense of guilt that took my breath away. Every door that opened, every message that came in on my phone felt like the beginning of the end. Until one night my phone vibrated. It was a message from Elda. "We need to talk." Her heart stopped beating for a moment. What did it mean? Had something happened? Had Michaela found out everything? I answered her with trembling fingers, trying to stay calm. She suggested meeting outside the house the next day. She said she couldn't talk about it there. I didn't sleep that night. The thought of what she might say tormented me. I was afraid, and part of me hoped. The next morning, with some excuse, I went out early and joined her in a nearby bar. She was sitting at the back of the room, isolated from everything and everyone. Her gaze was different, cold, tense. Elda was no longer the fascinating and seductive woman I had known. She was someone else, a tired, tormented woman. When he spoke, I knew right away that he had already made up his mind. He said that we couldn't continue, that what we were doing was too dangerous, too devastating, that Michaela didn't deserve this, that the secret we were keeping would destroy everything. He was right. His words hit me like punches in the stomach, but the next sentence took my breath away. He wanted to tell her. Michaela. Everything. It was like the ground had cracked beneath my feet. The thought of telling her everything was unacceptable. How do you tell a wife that you cheated on her with her mother? Yet deep down, I knew we couldn't hide it forever. With each passing day, the weight became more unbearable, and the truth closer. I didn't answer right away. That conversation had hit me like a cold wave. I needed time, space, silence. I was confused, my head full of thoughts that overlapped like waves in a storm. I wasn't ready to shatter everything, not yet. But I couldn't continue to live with that weight on my chest, a weight that crushed my every breath. When I told her I needed a few days, I saw a bitter awareness in her eyes. Elda nodded slowly, but we both knew that time would not solve anything. Only Michaela really deserved an answer. And soon. That night, going home was like crossing the threshold of a world that was about to collapse. Each step towards that door was heavier than the last. I knew that the only way out of that nightmare was to face the truth. But how can you look into the eyes of a woman who loves you, knowing that you have stabbed her in the soul? As soon as I entered, I was greeted by a familiar smell, freshly prepared dinner. For a moment, everything seemed normal, too normal. Michaela came towards me with her usual smile, the one that once made me feel lucky. She kissed my cheek with the usual tenderness, and I hugged her tighter than usual. Maybe I was looking for comfort, or maybe I just wanted to savor a last fragment of that serenity that I was about to destroy. My face was tight. I could feel it. She noticed, of course. Michaela has always had a gift for reading what I don't say, but I limited myself to a banal excuse. A long day at work, a lie, yet another one. And yet she didn't suspect anything, or so it seemed. She sat me down in that caring way that made her so irresistibly tender. She had cooked my favorite meal, and I felt suffocated. While she talked about her plans for the weekend, I was elsewhere, in a mental prison made of guilt and desire. Her every word was an innocent caress that reminded me of what a coward I was. The silence that reigned between one sentence and another was more eloquent than any confession. I nodded, smiled, feigning normality, while inside me a scream grew, dull and desperate. When we finally went to bed, sleep was impossible for me. I remained staring at the ceiling, feeling Michaela's calm breathing next to me, unaware, innocent, yet so close to discovering everything. The following days were a slow descent into hell. Every time Elda was home, the air became thicker. We even avoided meeting eyes, but the forbidden bond that united us was a tight rope, ready to snap. And Michaela, unaware, continued to live her life as always. Attentive, sweet, thoughtful. She was the perfect victim of a terrible deception. But the apparent quiet could not last. I knew it. I felt it. Then, that evening, at the table, everything changed. Michaela slowly put down her fork and looked at us with a look that made my blood run cold. The way she was staring at us. It wasn't accidental. She had understood something, and I felt like a hunted animal, stuck under the blinding light of truth. His tone was calm, but there was a subtle, dangerous tension in that control. He said he had noticed a change between me and his mother, an intuition, a suspicion. There was no escape. The silence that followed was a deafening void. Elda and I exchanged a look filled with terror. The moment I had tried to postpone had arrived, but it wasn't I who spoke. Fu Elda. With a trembling voice and guilt-filled eyes, she spoke up. I tried to stop her, to stem the avalanche, but she was determined. She knew we couldn't lie anymore, and within seconds everything came to light. Michaela turned pale. Her stillness was more frightening than any scream. Then, slowly, her defenses collapsed, like a castle built on sand. Tears began to run down her face. Her pain became flesh, became voice. When I tried to approach, he recoiled in disgust, as if I were poison. His words, sharp as blades, were the final sentence. She didn't want to hear explanations. She didn't try to understand. And how could I blame her? We had trampled on every form of trust. We had wounded her in the most visceral way, in the deepest point. When he told us to leave, his voice was cold, deadly. That coldness hit me harder than any slap. In an instant, I felt empty, as if the entire world had dissolved beneath my feet. I knew nothing would ever be the same again. If you want to receive new videos of the series, write, "I want the sequel," in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel to receive previews of the next publications. Thanks.